Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Before we dive into this week's fishing report, just want to let you guys know this is going to be our last open water fishing report for the season, and then come the middle of November, we're going to start back up and reporting on early ice and throughout the ice fishing season. So if you guys aren't following us on Facebook or subscribed to us on YouTube, go ahead and do that now. It's absolutely free and you'll be notified every time we post a fishing report. And with that being said, let's dive right into this week's fishing report. This week we're going to start up on Leech Lake. The bite on Leech has been really good lately, not only for walleyes, but perch and panfish as well, and some really nice muskies are being caught as well. Now, as far as the walleyes go, with the warm temps, those walleyes are still out a little bit deeper than typical for this time of the year. They're finding the majority of them on main lake sand flats in 10 to 16 foot of water. The best ways to catch those out there is with a jig and half of a crawler, but with the cold temps coming, I would bring some minnows along as well, and more than likely you're going to be able to pick off some nice walleyes. Now, another great area to target those walleyes is in Traders Bay on the sand grass flats in that 8 to 12 foot of water out in front of Brindley's Harbor and Acorn Hill Resort. Catching them the same way, throwing a 1/16 or 1/8 ounce jig head with half a crawler or a minnow. Now, later in the evening, you can catch fish trolling crankbaits, a Shad Rap number 5 or 7. Natural colors are working better than those flashy flamboyant colors right now, but trolling those in them sand grass flats or out on those main lake sand flats are producing some nice fish later in the evening as the sun is setting. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, I know up in Steamboat Bay right now in 5 to 8 foot of water, they are catching a ton of really nice perch. Throwing a 1/16 ounce jig head tipped with a fat head is working very well, or you can try a night crawler as well. Now, some other areas that are producing some nice perch, Walker Bay, and especially that Walker Narrows area in that 5 to 10 foot of water is holding a lot of really nice perch. And then up in Boy Bay, Sucker Bay, or Shingobi, they are catching some nice perch too. Now, as far as the panfish bite goes, a lot of really nice bluegills, crappies, and those pesky rock bass are being caught. They're up in the weeds, that 5 to 10 foot of water. The crappies seem to be out on the deeper edge of the weeds, and those bluegills and rock bass are up in a little bit tighter to the weeds. For the rock bass and bluegills, a chunk of a crawler below a slip bobber or a small jig in a crawler is working. And then for the crappies, a slip bobber with a minnow or a jig and minnow or a plastic is working for those nice big crappies. Now, as far as the muskies go, the majority of those muskies are being caught on those shallow main lake rocks. They might not be there during the middle of the day, but come evening or early morning, they're pulling up in there. They're catching them on topwater, jerk baits, and smaller bucktails. And then the guys are starting to soak those big sucker minnows and catching some absolute hog muskies on those live suckers. Now, if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake, whether it be this weekend or later in the season or throughout ice fishing season, Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort, he does have some cabins available yet this fall, and his restaurant will remain open until October 18th. And he is starting to take reservations for the ice fishing season. Whether you're looking to book a cabin, a day house, a sleeper house, or book a perch guided trip, he can accommodate all of those. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, now moving over to Lake Winnie. The best bite on Winnie right now is in Tamarack Bay. Whether you want to catch walleyes, perch, or panfish, you can find them all right in the bay there. The walleyes, they're finding those in that 7 to 11 foot of water on the edges of the weeds, pitching a jig and a minnow or half of a crawler. Otherwise, trolling crankbaits in the evening is producing some nice fish as well. Now, I will say the walleyes are not super schooled up yet with these warm temps we've been having, but with the cold weather coming, they're going to school up more and more, and you're not going to have to hop around nearly as much. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, the perch are up in the weeds. Doesn't really matter what kind of weeds you're finding, but if you can find some weeds, they're up in there. Pitching a 1/16 or 1/8 ounce jig with a fathead is working best for those. Now, as far as the crappie bite goes, the crappies are in proximity to those reed beds primarily. Pitching a slip bobber with a fathead or a 1/16 ounce jig with a crappie minnow or a fathead is working best for those. You can get them in the day, but primarily it is an evening bite, and they are catching some really nice big crappies. Now, one other area you can target those crappies is over in McCavity Bay, over on Cutfoot. They are a little bit deeper over there, looking at 16 to 22 foot of water. Pitching a jig and a minnow is working best for those over there as well. Now, if you are looking for a guide up on Lake Winnie, Scott from Zups Guide Service, unfortunately his open water season is over, but you can start booking for next year. Otherwise, he will be renting out ice castles this ice fishing season. So if you want to get in on some of those walleye, perch, and eel pout out on Winnie through the ice, go ahead and call Scott from Zups Guide Service. Now, if you're looking for a place to stay up on Lake Winnie, Chad at the Pines Resort, he has some nice cabins over there. He does have some availability yet this fall and into ice fishing season. I believe he's going to keep his restaurant open through October, but go ahead and give him a call and check on the hours before heading over there. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. All right, now moving down to Mille Lacs Lake. This warmer weather has really slowed down the fall bite out there. The fish are still a little bit confused on where they want to be. There has been a slight transition of some of those fish moving in shallower to their fall spots on those sand to weed transitions or those sand to rock transitions in that 10 to 16 foot of water. Jig and a crawler seems to be working best. If you can find leeches are working, but those are really hard to find right now. Or very soon the minnow bite will turn on and you will be able to catch plenty of walleyes on a jig and minnow. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, still catching some decent perch, anywhere from that 16 to 30 foot of water, the rock to mud transitions, or out on the mud flats themselves. You gotta look around, locate those fish before you start fishing, drop a small jig and a minnow or a chunk of a crawler, and more than likely you will catch some nice perch. Now, as far as the smallmouth bass bite goes, the majority of those fish have transitioned out a little bit deeper, that 16 to 24 foot of water, out on the rocks and the boulders. Dropping a drop shot, a Ned rig, or using crankbaits is working. And then the guys that are rigging those bigger minnows for those bass are catching some absolute hogs. Now, I do want to say, if you're going to rig those bigger minnows for those smallmouth, just be careful. They tend to choke them really deep. Try and get them unhooked as safely as possible and immediately back into the water. All right, well, that is going to do it for this week's fishing report. Just remember, we will be doing ice reports in the future. So hit that subscribe button, follow us on Facebook. If you guys are interested in getting some custom ice rods, we highly recommend LH Custom Rods. We'll put their link down in the description. Otherwise, start getting your ice fishing stuff together. Start planning to get to the ice shows. And if you do make it out fishing and you catch some nice fish, take some pictures, send them to us on Gmail or to our Facebook, and we will feature you in future fishing reports. If you guys do get out fishing, remember, be kind at the boat ramp, be respectful of other fishermen, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.